Morning, students. Today, we are going to discuss about the mentoring and coaches and another teaching methods, problem-based learning. When we are talking about the mentoring and coaching, that means mentoring and coaching is one-to-one, one-on-one guidance and support from experienced individuals. जैसा कि हमने प्रीवियस भी डिफरेंट डिफरेंट जो लेक्चर मेथड है उसको हमने डिस्कस किया था। उसमें हमने ये बोला था कि जैसे जो मेंटर है या फिर जो इंस्ट्रक्टर है जो टीचर एज अ गाइड या एज अ फिलोसफर एज अ फ्रेंड के रूप में काम करते हैं। तो मेंटरिंग का कंसेप्ट ये है कि टीचर का जो रोल है यहाँ पे क्या करना है एज अ फैसिलिटेटर के रूप में कि स्टूडेंट जहाँ पे गलती दे कर रहे हैं वहां पे उन्हें पाथ दिखाने का काम। केवल टीचर फैसिलिटेट करेगा या फिर स्टूडेंट्स कहीं पे उस प्रॉब्लम्स को सॉर्ट आउट नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। यदि प्रॉब्लम ओरिएंटेड जो सॉल्यूशंस है प्रॉब्लम्स का सॉल्यूशंस नहीं निकाल पा रहे हैं तो उसका सॉल्यूशन निकालने के लिए वो टीचर क्या करेगा जस्ट गाइड करेगा और लर्नर्स अपने पाथ के अकॉर्डिंग अपने पेस के अकॉर्डिंग लर्नर सीखेगा। एंड एडवांटेजेस ऑफ द मेंटरिंग that means personalize the learning, immediate feedback and development of specific skills। इसमें क्या ये होता है कि टीचर्स फैसिलिटेटर के रूप में होते हैं और टीचर्स हर एक इंडिविजुअल्स को तुरंत इमीडिएट फीडबैक प्रोवाइड करते हैं ताकि वो कहाँ पे गलती कर रहे हैं उसको वो सुधार सके। Then its consideration, it is time intensive and requires a good match between mentor and mentee। क्योंकि मेंटी दैट मीन्स यहाँ पे एडल्ट लर्नर से कंसेप्ट है और मेंटर दैट मीन्स अ टीचर। तो जब एडल्ट लर्नर्स को जब एडोलेसेंस एज में होते हैं एडल्ट लर्नर्स के पास अपने भी पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं। फैमिली प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकते हैं कुछ पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकते हैं बिकॉज उसके मन में इस तरीके का कंसेप्ट आता है कि आप ये देखो कि एक फैमिली में जब वो फैमिली में होता है और यदि कुछ गलती कर देता है तो उस समय उसके जो बड़े होते हैं पेरेंट्स ब्रदर्स और सिस्टर्स या कजन्स या नेबर्स या सोसाइटी के अन्य मेंबर्स वो उसे ये बोलते हैं अब तुम बच्चे नहीं रहे हो, यू आर नॉट अ चाइल्ड, यू आर एन एडल्ट। और वहीं जब कोई गंभीर मुद्दे पे यदि उसके पेरेंट्स बात कर रहे होते हैं तो वहां पर यदि वो बच्चा कुछ बोलता है तो फिर वहां पे उसे ये बोला जाता है यू आर नॉट एन एडल्ट और अभी तुम छोटे हो, अभी तुम बच्चे हो। तो इस तरीके से जो डुअलिज्म वाला कंसेप्ट है तो इसमें वहां पो की स्थिति बनी होती है और लर्नर्स अपने आप से वो समझ नहीं पाता कि वो करे तो क्या करे। तो ऐसे बहुत सारे सिचुएशंस होते हैं जिसमें लर्नर्स खुद से परेशान होता है इसलिए उसे एक पाथ दिखाने के लिए मेंटर की जरूरत होती है। तो और वो मेंटर के रूप में टीचर उसको गाइड कर सकता है। एंड नेक्स्ट टीचिंग मेथड इज प्रॉब्लम बेस्ड लर्निंग। When we are talking about the problem based learning, then we have to discuss about what is problem based learning, what is the historical background of problem based learning, what is the significance of problem based learning, and what is the need of implement to problem based learning in education sectors or in teaching learning process. Then first we have to discuss about what is problem based learning. Now, what do you understand by problem based learning? Problem based learning is an instructional student centered strategy in which a group of 6 to 10 students confront a well described problem and strive to find the right solution. A tutor pursues and supervises the process. History, history of problem-based learning are educators believe that adults develop a knowledge and skills when they face a real problem and solve it themselves. According to Howard Barrow, a medical educationist from Ontario, Canada, tried to develop methods that enable physicians in solving health problems completely with humanitarian principles, while medical schools across globe focused on providing knowledge. Barrow thought of ability of students in using these knowledge in evaluation of patients' health problems and to provide appropriate care to the patients just as the way they were supposed to do in real life practice. After much pondering, Barrow developed problem based learning, which states allow medical students to integrate, use, and reuse newly learned information in the context of patients, problems, the symptoms, signs, laboratory data, course of illness, etc. Provide cues for retrieval in the clinical context. Barrow designed a series of problems for students to solve and hence to gather experience. He did not provide students all information but necessitated them to search a situation, develop appropriate questions, and produce their own plan to explain their problems. The cultivated students' clinical reasoning process as well as their understanding of the tools at their disposal. When applied to teaching schedule in 1962, PBL was set on a roll by Barrow in McMaster University, Ontario, Canada. By 1970, it was adopted by medical schools in Netherlands, Australia, and Mexico. PBL problem-based learning was soon adopted by other disciplines, business, dent- dentistry, law, school of education, engineering courses, etc. That means and input the origin of problem-based learning goes back to 1920. Célestin Fournier, first a primary school teacher, came back injured from World War I. He saw himself incapable of speaking and teaching in front of a class for extended periods of time. His injuries forced him to seek a new methodology that would allow him to continue his professional activities in satisfactory way. He established a system in which the pupils played an active role in learning. Mainstays of this approach will communication skills, cooperative learning, self-responsibility, and self-evaluation of their learning process, all elements and features of problem-based learning. The modern history of PBL goes back to the 1960s, where several schools used similar methods for educational questions. However, the credit for introducing the first PBL curriculum belongs to the McMaster Medical Schools in Hamilton, which started in 1969. The first European problem-based learning curriculum was introduced 1974 in the University of Maastricht Medical School. Today, problem-based learning is widely spread in different fields of higher education. In medical schools, it is mainly used in the pre-clinical curriculum. How, yeah, what is the significance of problem-based learning? In traditional teaching of learning, There are multiple exposure of patients of different disease at wards tutorial sessions. In these activities, teacher presents facts with skill demonstrate and it is believed that students will build concepts and acquire skills by observation and practice. Some says that there is no real world scenarios and students are not solving actual problems. While solving problem based learning, students develop power of reasoning and learn concepts. Several studies shows that problem-based learning facilitates students in gathering content and simultaneously improving thinking strategy. The significance of problem-based learning is the appropriate usage of learning materials by students to improve knowledge and understanding. Hence, it increases the cognition of students and influences behavior. In analyzing the Miller's pyramid of clinical competence in the context of problem-based learning, the teaching learning method influences all levels of pyramid from nose to does and helps a student to ascend from novice to the expert. In addition, problem-based learning allows participating students to get involved in group discussion, learn group dynamics, and improve communication skills. In addition to the development of cognitive skills, students carry out research through inquiry and apply their learning in solving future problems and can present their findings in a research paper. Most importantly, the significance of problem-based learning involves with intrinsic motivation and is responsible for lifelong engagement with the learning. That how does PBL function? Problem-based learning functions. Students are presented a problem, a written case, video tape, pictures, etc. that is textually embedded in their momentary learning topics. The tutor is the only one in the group who has a catalog of learning items concerning the problem and the solution of the presented case. The composition of the group members and the tutors remain the same for a certain time period. Students try to recognize the main issue of the problem. Falling back on their knowledge, they strive to explain the underlying phenomenon. Beyond that, students search for fitting hypotheses to solve the problem. After having exchanged, discussed, and gathered together all the existing knowledge on the problem, students will recognize that many issues and questions can't be answered in a satisfactory manner and in the demanded profundity. These knowledge gaps are formulated as learning items and are prioritized. Through self-study, each member of the group acquiring the lacking aspect for the purpose of catching up on each learning item. In order to explain the case, sufficient self-study time must be placed at the student's disposal in a PBL problem-based learning curriculum. In a second meeting, students will then present their results and all the new information gathered together to solve the problem in desired profundity and epics. How is PBL organized? As already mentioned, small groups of students, ideally not more than six, meet twice to cover once. In between these two meetings, the curriculum must provide enough self-study time free of any other instructional duties. It is optional whether one or 2 cases are investigated per week. Additionally, problem-based learning requires ample library resources, adequate tutorial rooms for the students, self-study places, and a duly number of well-trained tutors, one for each tutorial group. And the tutor is a member of the academic staff of the faculty and well trained in the process of problem-based learning tutoring. He is contrast to the student, is aware of the learning goals and has profound knowledge on the cases he pursues. Results from the field of educational research suggest that both subject matter knowledge and process facilitation skills are necessary for effective tutors. The tutor makes sure that the learning goals are achieved. He observes the group process and the intellectual and social exchange within the group. He is not actively involved in the problem solving process but steers the group to effective goals. He is not an informant nor a teacher. What are the main goals of problem based learning method? Problem based learning fosters the ability to identify personal information gaps, namely to seek and organize new information on account of described problems for a particular application. Furthermore, it promotes autonomous learning and personal responsibility. Cooperative working in tutorial sharpens the skills for social behavior and constructive communication. Contextual learning, a consequence of learning based on problems and cases, positively affects long-term memory and supports competence in the application and transfer of knowledge on different concepts. Assessment in problem-based learning curriculum. Assessment is a crucial component in education and dramatically affects the way of learning and exam preparation. Hence, assessment should pursue some principles. Assessment should be first one is consistent with the curriculum, second one is instructive, and third one is landmark learning strategy, and fourth one is should contain contribution from all person concerned, students, teachers, tutors. In problem-based learning curricula content, process and skills are closely linked together. Hence, assessment must take into account all aspects. There are two main types of assessment. First one is formative assessment aims at continuous feedback on students' progress. And second one is summative assessment test in retrospect the performance of students and thus allow conclusion on passing or failing a course. Now we are discussing about characteristics and features of PBL, problem-based learning. The core curriculum in undergraduate or postgraduate education comprises of the basic knowledge, attitudes, and skills required for a medical education and all any other stream of 21st century to become in medical sectors physician of first contact for the society, whereas in other sectors as economics, economician of first contact for the society. This core must revolve around human and human society for or public health. Among multidimensional approaches, clinical problem solving and developments of critical thinking abilities are primary requirements. Students from beginning should develop attitude conducive to continuous professional evaluation. Once the student understands the relevance of the course, learning becomes easier. In the PBL, problem-based learning, the learners both individually and in groups assume the responsibility for generating the learning process. It induces group discussion. By both individual and peer assessments, students frame their basis and search their learning material. It is self-reflective, and learners learn to monitor on learning. The activity starts with a real-world problem which contains descriptions of a set of events which needs explanation in terms of the underlying process or mechanism. The problem is presented as such it would present in reality. The task of the students is to explain the phenomena by indulging in self-study and group discussion. The most dominant factor is the quality of the problem provided. The student work with problem, apply knowledge and experience. The student reasons with the problem and provides solutions. Problem-based learning curricula allows transfer of concepts to solve problems, enhances the intrinsic interest in the subject matter, enhance self-directed learning skills, and this enhancement can be maintained. The learning that has developed with work in solving the problem is integrated into students' existing knowledge and skills. Learners are able to connect what they are learning with what is going to happen in the real world. Students have to work with the problem as far as possible and identify what they need to learn. The learners engage in self-directed study to research the information needed, finding and use a variety of information resources as per books, journals, reports, online information, and a variety of people with appropriate areas of expertise for coming to an appropriate solution to the problem provided. In this way, learning is personalized to the needs and learning styles of the individual. After gathering knowledge, students return to the problem, apply what they have learned, and provide a reasonable solution. After completion of the task, students go for self-assessment and peer assessment. Role of teachers in problem-based learning. Responsibility of the teacher in problem-based learning is to provide the educational materials and guidance that facilitate learning. The principal role of the teacher as a facilitator or educational coach is to guide the learners. As learners become more proficient in the problem-based learning process, the teacher's role is minimized. The assessment reports provided by the students are supervised by the teacher. The teacher also appreciate the efforts of the students and supervise the problem solving activities of students. Here, the teacher does not provide facts and doesn't test students' recall power via memorization of facts. Now, challenges of problem-based learning and the solutions. Various strategies have been adopted for effective functioning and implementation of the changes, which has been framed for smooth rolling down of challenges of program-based learning. Setting up of such environments out of the prints and to put forward in practical field are major challenge for the college of uh, college of any streams. The environments are namely learner-centric, knowledge-centric, assessment-centric, and community-centric. Problem-based learning strategies need students su- to shoulder the onus of own learning. Problems used by the students should have a strong community orientation. Educational curriculum henceforth should have modifications accordingly. Independent study, peer group learning, small tutorial group discussion are the major teaching methods. Didactic lectures require reductions and when present needs to be interactive and focused. Hence, gaining of students' trust along with faculty cooperation are major routes of successful implementation of program-based learning. Lack of clear implementation guidelines and also not identifying learning outcomes by faculty will cause failure. प्रोफेशनल तो इस प्रकार से हमने ये देखा कि प्रॉब्लम बेस्ड लर्निंग को एडल्ट लर्निंग के लिए हम कैसे ऑर्गेनाइज कर सकते हैं. Thus, we can conclude that learners are presented with the problems and must work to find the solution. And advantages of the problem-based learning are encourages critical thinking, self-directed learning, and practical application. Its consideration are problems must be relevant and challenging enough to stimulate learning. Thank you guys. Thank you students.